What's going on, everybody? This is Cody back, bringing you guys my second in a series of Grid 1 to Grid Autosport gameplay comparison videos. As some of you dedicated Grid fans out there may know, this is actually a very welcome return of this track on Grid Autosport because it was actually absent from the Grid 2 track list. And we're racing around the Okutama track with the touring car class. We got the Category C BMW over on the Grid Autosport side, and just the normal touring car. Same exact car, actually, just a newer model on Grid Autosport. For the most part, things are pretty much the same. I'm running no assists on Grid Autosport, whereas I'm actually running all the assists on Grid 1. However, that's not going to actually take into account how much faster I am on the race driver grid footage. Now, to just reiterate real quick what I mentioned on the previous video, you got the typical very oversaturated color palette, warm colors on the race driver grid side, which has been completely changed. On Grid Autosport, you got very cool colors, there's almost this mist or just fog sort of hanging in the air, and it almost sort of kills the draw distance a little bit. And I don't know if that's actually put in there for a technical reason to make the track, run at a higher frame rate. Probably not. But it gives this nice sort of sensation. When you come through this tunnel, you get that flash right there at the exit, and it's into this heavy braking point into a left-hand corner over the bridge. It gives this nice the lighting effects are very nice on Autosport. So picking up on sort of where I left off last time, talking about the handling and physics, I have to say I'm not a huge fan of driving any of the touring cars on Grid Autosport. I mean, for the most part, the BMW rear-wheel drive car, it handles like that. The back end's always sliding out. You can lose traction when you get on the throttle too early coming out of the corners. You want to run higher, go into higher gears to try to minimize wheel spin. So you have that element as well. That's more of a sim-like experience than over the footage that you're looking at over on the right, which is basically me just powering full throttle through most of the corners with basically no fear of losing the car. However, I have actually gone and driven the Chevrolet Cruze, the Ford Focus, and the Honda Civic touring cars, and they handle completely differently. They have that very front-wheel drive, understeer characteristic that should be there on those vehicles. However, I feel like it actually hinders them too much, and something tells me that maybe even online you might actually see a lot of people driving the BMW, because I have a feeling that that's going to definitely be the marquee touring car that people are going to go after. So yeah, other than that, just wanted to give you guys another video. Now you might actually notice visual-wise, in terms of like buildings and textures, changes that they made on Grid Autosport are actually they pulled them from the modifications they made to this circuit on Grid 2. They didn't actually have this track on that game, but they did have sort of sections of it in point-to-point races. So what they did was they actually sort of just combined that all into one, back into the original track. So it looks much nicer. There's completely different lighting effects, through different sections, completely, different buildings. That overpass that I just went under on race driver grid footage isn't there. So, they definitely have tweaked a lot of things. However, they sort of carried it over from Grid 2. So yeah, as you guys can see, I'm already done with the race driver grid footage. And yeah, this is pretty much just picking up exactly where I left off on my previous video. The cars are much more grounded, much more realistic to drive, just overall speed. You cannot go full throttle through corners anymore. You have to slow down, you have to apex properly, and you just have to drive the game more like a proper racing game, more like a Gran Turismo or a Forza. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. So there'll be more from me probably later this week. Might have a quick look at the cockpit views just from compared between the two games. So until then, I'll catch you guys next time.